I decided that I want the brick to look a little bit more like there's some plaster left on it. So this was my experiment over here, and I like the way it looked better than when it was just plain brick like this still is right here. So here's another one that I tried to do. The directions I found online was do as little as possible, because you can always add more, but you can't really take it away, which is true. And how I made the mixture is I took some white paint, just regular old white house paint, and I added a ton of that chalk powder stuff you can get on Amazon for like, I don't know, $6 for a big old bag of it. And then I added a little bit of tan paint to it so it wouldn't be so scary white. And then my tool of choice is this. It's just a rubber spatula that seems to be working perfect. And because the paintbrush idea, well, for one thing, I couldn't find a paintbrush, but I always know where my spatula is. So I'm gonna try working on something up here and then see if it looks better. Okay, there's the after, and that literally took me maybe, I don't know, probably the clock was in there, but anyways, it took me maybe 60 seconds. And I just used the spatula to just barely brush some of the mixture on, and then I put it thicker in some spots. And how I got the idea of like the pattern is looking at online of actual exposed brick that wasn't fake. So I tried to imitate the ununiform way that the plaster is still on top of the brick instead of having it look just like paper. And then I'm going to continue, and I'll try to get to a point where it's safe for me to hold the camera while I'm doing the spatula. Okay, there. Now I finished that whole section, and so it probably took me 30 more seconds. So now I'm going to try to make the rest of the brick look more realistically like exposed brick. So I'm going to work on the ceiling. So if I sound out of breath, it's because I'm not used to doing anything. So this is a big step for me to try to fix up this old house. And my favorite saying is, Martha Stewart, I ain't. So I decided I did this chunk a little bit too heavy, so I'm going to try to sponge some off. I just have a spray bottle of water and a rag, and I'm going to see if I can get it so it's a little bit less uniform. Okay, note to self that chalk paint dries almost instantly, so I was unsuccessful at removing. So what I did was just added some more. And then again, remember my goal. It used to be a big yellow stain in the ceiling, and now it's just an attempt to cover it up. And I'm thinking that all of that paint that just looks like paint to me now, maybe a few days I'll forget what I did and it will just look like plaster that is kind of left over. Okay, to me this is looking more like an actual dilapidated building than a rundown house. And that's the look I was going for, like an industrial look where we just have exposed brick, and that's the way we want it. So I still got to do that section right there, and I'm going to try to see if I can safely video me doing that so you can see how easy it is, because I've literally did all of this paint on here in probably less than, if we take away the time I took videotaping, probably less than 5 minutes. So it don't look beautiful, but it looks a lot prettier than it did before. And I'll get a better picture. But I do suggest that make sure your Elmer's glue is dry first before you try to do this, because you'll probably rip the paper if you would do it while the Elmer's glue is still wet.